Hello everybody, hope you're all doing fantastically well. It's Connor here, we're back with another 3 things that we learned after yesterday's performance against Bristol City. Listen, had to take a chill pill, had to take a step away from Leeds United proceedings yesterday. I wasn't happy, as a lot of you guys know, but in this video, listen, maybe I was wrong. I'm big enough, I'm old enough, I'm ugly enough to admit that I was wrong. I just wasn't that impressed with what we displayed yesterday, and we're going to get into exactly why. But 3 things that we learned. There's going to be a mix of positives in there, everybody. Don't worry. So yesterday, Leeds United drew with Bristol City, and I came away. I've watched the game again. Don't get me wrong. The positive is obviously Leeds United with the dominant side, everybody, especially in that second half. They didn't do anything. They were a poor team, kicking the ball out at any relative opportunity, looking for space to breathe, really, when it came to Leeds United. But I think probably the big thing overall, and looking at it from a conclusion standpoint already immediately in the video, is that maybe when you take Largi Ramazani out of that side, maybe when you move Junior Firpo out of that side, the required depth of which we thought was significantly good as well, maybe isn't as significantly good as we thought it was. You know, you saw replacements come in and chances were missed. Joseph should have scored, I believe. Dan James should have scored, I believe, and Willian Yonso. So you look at that and the XG is relatively high, and the XG against was virtually nothing. Bristol City didn't do anything against Leeds United, but did I expect them at the beginning of proceedings to do anything against Leeds United? I really didn't. And I think all of this, everybody, it comes down to expectation. Right now, we, for me, relatively, are the Man City of this division. Alongside, let's say, your Liverpools and your Arsenals. That's what we are right now. So every single game, apart from maybe the top games of which we're playing, of which we've done really well against so far, in terms of your Sunderlands, your Norwiches, your Sheffield Uniteds, you're expecting to win, you know? So I think that's the standard that we have to uphold as Leeds United fans this season, with the squad we have, with the highest championship budget, wage structure of all time. You know, Daniel Farke has admitted how expensive this squad is as well in many interviews. And I believe when we talk about an expensive squad, that means we have expensive depth and quality in depth. And that is what we focused on yesterday in the review, and maybe why I was quite disappointed. Okay, so let's get on to the first thing that we learned. Leeds United come away with another clean sheet. Yes, the Whites, aside from a discrepancy, a bar goal the other day for Watford, Leeds have kept an abundance of clean sheets right now. And we know last season that when we kept clean sheet upon clean sheet upon clean sheet, listen, if you don't concede at the back, you're not going to lose games. So you're only going to draw, you're only going to win games, which is massively beneficial to Leeds United. It means we're constantly picking up points. Yesterday, we weren't troubled whatsoever. And from a defensive point of view, I was talking a lot about Sam Byram going forward yesterday, and how I thought how poor he was in terms of offering us that option on the left-hand side. Is that a Byram problem or a Daniel Farke option in terms of not starting someone else? You guys let me know in the comment section below. But for me, you look at it and you think to yourself, it's another clean sheet of which Leeds weren't really disturbed at all at the back. And that's only going to be a positive thing. As I've said to you guys, you know, Bristol City were unbeaten in 5. You know, in those 5, they're beating Bristol City away, beating Middlesbrough, I should say, away from home as well. So this isn't a bad side. I think I was only slightly disappointed by the fact that the last 5 times we've played Bristol City, we've beaten them 5 times, and we've got an unbelievable record against them. But listen, a point is a point. We haven't lost the game. Guys, a lot of what I say has to be revolved around my genuine thoughts. And yesterday, you looked at the depth that we had up front, and my goodness, I didn't. The team hasn't played with each other that much. I understand that front 4 when you look at James, when you look at Aronson. Obviously, when you look at Nonso and Perot, it's not really a conducive front 4. And I looked at it, and throughout the game, the balance was just all off. It felt like the reduction from Ramazani was huge. And I mentioned this on a tweet and a video earlier on. I thought people were underestimating how big this was. Ramazani being out through injury for maybe 6 to 8 games. I thought it was massive, and I did think you saw a dramatic drop-off when it came to the production levels and the efficiency levels of that front 4. The balance between Nonso and Ramazani has been something which is, in my opinion, sought Premier League level, Premier League calibre. And now we have reduced a little bit. We have significantly reduced a bit, and I do have to pull in Manor Solomon, I do have to address the sort of elephant in the room. He was almost trending on Leeds United Twitter last night, and I think it's really important that we discuss it and we have like a frank conversation about it. With Manor Solomon, the blame can't be solely put on him. Of course it can't. I mean, he was only on for like 20-25 minutes. There was another 65 minutes of which the rest of the team should have won the game, really. But Manor Solomon was the big project. He was the big boy brought in at the start of the season on 50, 60 grand a week, whatever it is, to be that litmus for Leeds United, the X factor to get Leeds in that top two. And he might still quite rightly do that. But I'm struggling as a loan player. We've seen loan players come in from Spurs before and potentially be sent back in January, and then said Spurs player have gone on to get contracts, and it's worked quite well for them. But we could be looking at something similar here if it doesn't sort of drastically improve. I think, you look at the games that he's had now, he's been fully fit for 3 matches, and we're still hearing the same excuses. I feel from a certain portion of the fan base that he's rusty and he's getting back into it. I don't know why we're making these excuses for him. I don't know why we're giving him this level of time. You've seen Dan James come back in, and I understand injuries are at different levels, everybody, but this with Solomon was just a hamstring injury. It wasn't a meniscus problem again. It was a hamstring injury, and from what we're told, it wasn't a bad one. So obviously missed those 4 games, but being back fit for 3 games and being involved in 3 games, I'm just trying to look at his overall picture now. The whole game, he was decent. The Burnley game, obviously, we know what happened with the Koleosho goal. Wasn't a great look, obviously. The 4 games then he had out, and then the 3 games that he's been involved in, albeit a substitute, but for short and long periods of time, I've just not been impressed with at all. I really haven't, and I'm struggling to see what we're seeing here. And for me, James is way ahead of him in the pecking order now. And I mean, there's not even a conversation between Ramazani and Solomon anymore. And I just think he's so predictable. And I think from what we were delivered in terms of the hype, I'm struggling to see the hype be matched. And this isn't being overly critical, guys. This is the guy who at the beginning of his campaign, I was saying, look, we've got to give him a bit of time to get into it. From April till April, he had 9 months out. But one thing I'm learning right now is I sort of was maybe a little bit right to be cautious of him at the start. The transfer is a lot of money, but it's not our money, so why are we bothered? It is a loan spot, taken up. But it was one of those where we signed him off the back of an injury, and a big injury at that. And he doesn't seem to have any pace. He doesn't seem to be able to beat people on the flank, so he doesn't go down the flank. He's always cutting inside. But I'm not really seeing anything when he's cutting inside. I'm not really seeing a high degree of shot accuracy like we see with Ramazani. I'm not seeing ferocity. I'm not seeing real agility to come inside and beat a man or 1-2 with another man and get a shot off. We're not really seeing any combinations, any synergy, any sort of effectiveness on the ball. And that might come in time, of course, but I think it is key to note, and it's key to look at Solomon. It's not because we're picking on him or anything like that. And for other reasons, everybody, I'm absolutely sick of hearing these stupid reasons as to why people are putting in the comment section below. What goes on in Solomon's personal life has got nothing to do with what he does on a football pitch. Let's keep these 2 things separate. But when he's on a football pitch, I'm not quite seeing that level of which was sold to us. And I think that is a severe problem, obviously, when we're looking at someone like Ramazani being out and Solomon coming in. So I'm kind of learning, and I learned yesterday, that we need to keep Dan James fit. We have to keep Dan James fit, and I'm being serious here, because I think if Solomon was to come in over Dan James even right now, that level drops even further. And when I'm talking about level, I'm not just talking about technically now, because I think Solomon's probably above Dan James in that respect, but I'm talking about energy, endeavour, commitment to the cause. I'm talking about being a proper defensive winger as well, and giving us that option in behind. I just think how reduced it is now from James to Solomon is quite significant. Guys, as well, we do have to look at the third thing that we learn, which is Joseph or Peru. And I do think I'm a broken record at the minute, but it's Joseph. I think when you came on, you saw the energy, you saw that level just go up a little bit, that he should have scored. We all know that. And I feel like that's just going to be a product of Joseph's season. But I think the overall impact, what he gives us from that front is very, very decent. You saw Leeds' tempo go up a little bit more. You saw us being able to find him in the channels, ball over the top, instead of Perot, who just sort of like stood on the defenders' toes and wasn't really moving at all. We were actually, it was great because we had the high camera at Bristol City, didn't we, at Ashton Gate, where you can see everything. Pro was just moving like that throughout the whole game. And I felt that's why you saw Stroud, that's why you saw Rode on the central midfielders maybe not have as good a game. I think Perot was a big part to play in that. And obviously the wide players, there was no options. They weren't creating any space. There was no movement off the centre back or the left back. There was no pace and 1-2s, just creating a bit of space in that pocket. It wasn't happening. And I think that's at least what Joseph gives you. He stretches the back line. And do you want a centre forward who stretches the back line and gives you everything, maybe but the goal, but is able to create space for other people to get that goal? Or just Peru, who kind of you just say, well, he'll score. And obviously he's not scoring as consistently as he was at the start of the season now. And I think Joseph has got to come back in, people. So let me know what you think in the comment section below, everybody. Do you disagree? Do you agree with what I've said? As I said, they're the three things that I've learned from yesterday. As I say, it's a point, it's a clean sheet. It's probably a little bit better than initially thought. I mean, I guess, guys, it's because in the next 5 games, we'd said minimum 12 points, and we kind of can only get 12 points now. So that's fine. It is what it is, but we've got to keep those standards and expectations high, I think. Obviously, the Solomon chat is a really interesting one. Let me know what you think in the comment section below on that one. And then finally, I think it's got to be Joseph over Peru now. I think the conversation's over, but we'll wait and see what Daniel Farke does for Plymouth next week. We've got a week to rest up, everybody. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in a bit.